Hello, I'm Nadia Nazir and you are watching tvsarawak.com. Here are the headlines. Chief Minister urged civil servants to explore and develop innovative ways to enhance their capacity in serving the Sarawakians. Tali Khidmat solves 90% of complaints. Datuk Peter Nansian rebuked the perception among most Bumiputra students that they cannot excel in science, technology, English and mathematics education. Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Adnan Satem urged civil servants to be brave in exploring and developing innovative ways to enhance their capacity in serving over 2.3 million demanding Sarawakians. He added that it was inventions that changed the world and people's way of life. Tan Sri Adnan was speaking at the Innovative and Creative Circle Convention Awards and Sarawak Civil Service Innovation Week Celebration 2014 at the Imperial Hotel. The joint events were slated for recognizing civil servants who had successfully implemented their respective KIKs, apart from motivating them to continue improving themselves. In relation to the subject, Tan Sri Adnan highlighted the country's achievement in making it to the top 20 out of 144 economies being assessed for national competitiveness as outlined in the Global Competitiveness Report 2014-2015. Despite the fact that Malaysia remains the highest ranked among developing Asian economies, he reminded civil servants that there were still rooms for improvement, especially in handling rising expectations from members of the public who had become more critical and demanding. Commending efforts of various departments for their innovative projects, Tan Sri Adnan said he looked forward to see these innovations being adapted and replicated across all sectors. As such, he also advised civil servants to follow up and follow through with their inventions to ensure that they would not gather dust and become abandoned. Meanwhile, State Secretary Tan Sri Dato' Amar Morshidi Ghani said Sarawak Civil Service Action Plan 2010-2020 has been implemented, which covers the areas of managing culture change, talent management, tailoring customers' needs, innovation and creativity, e-government, project and delivery excellence, financial transformation management, and excellent administration of legal services. Being able to resolve 90% of an average 17,000 complaints lodged every year via the state government's Tali Khidmat service is indeed an achievement. State Secretary Tan Sri Dato' Amar Morshidi Ghani commended the one-stop communication channel, which served as a platform for the public to give their input and grievances on various matters. According to him, most of the complaints received were on council matters. Moreover, with the latest launch of SCS Tali Khidmat app version 1.0.0, Tan Sri Morshidi expects that the line would receive more complaints as people would have a wider and more convenient means of access. Among the functions available via the version 1.0.0 app are personalized account setup, track case progress, multimedia and location support, alert notification, government contact directory, availability in Malay and English, as well as an integrated platform that connects with all state government agencies. This version is also compatible with iOS version 6.0 and above, as well as smart devices supported by Android version 4.0.4. Members of the public can now download this mobile application by visiting Tali Khidmat website talikhidmat.sarawak.gov.my or the state government portal www.sarawak.gov.my. Assistant Minister of Community Development Datuk Peter Nansian rebuked the perception among most Bumiputra students that they cannot excel in STEM, science, technology, English and mathematics education. Indeed, he added that this was no perceptible difference between the Bumiputra and other communities who are good in STEM, and therefore there was no reason for any inferiority. He explained that even though some are weak in these subjects, but that does not mean that all of the Bumiputras are weak compared to others. The actual problem is due to one giving up without really working hard. He stressed this when representing State Legislative Assembly Speaker Dato' Amar Muhammad Asfia Awang Nasar at the closing of the Bau District Education Department program. The program aimed to enhance the involvement of parents and teachers to improve students' enrollment in the district at Redeems Centre near here yesterday. He added that it is time for the Bumiputra community to change such a perception towards STEM in view of its importance in this era of industrialization. He said that the development of Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy, the state will require a lot of highly skilled workforce, especially in the field of technology, which has to be filled by candidates who are proficient in STEM. He thus urged the parents and teachers to help the students towards excellence in their studies. Petronas has inked a Memorandum of Understanding with Yayasan Sarawak to collaborate on a technical program to train welders at the Centre of Technical Excellence, a move that will help address the shortage of skilled workers needed by the rapidly industrializing Sarawak. Under the agreement, Petronas will sponsor the 6G welding program at CTE for 3 years from October this year until September 30th, 2017. The 6G training aims to produce highly skilled welders currently in high demand, especially by heavy and energy-intensive companies at Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy in Samalaju Industrial Park in Bintulu, as well as the oil and gas companies. Petronas will also provide training equipment and maintenance, training consumables, trainees' personal protective equipment, and technical advisory to CTE, formerly known as Pusat Latihan Pembangunan Belia. The MOU was signed by CTE Chairman Tan Sri Dato' Amar Morshidi Ghani, who is also the State Secretary, and Petronas Senior Vice President for Group Human Resource Management, Raiha Azni Abdul Rahman. Moving on to Malaysian news. Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak said the three main ingredients of wasatiyah, or moderation, namely justice, balance and excellence, will continue to be the values used in guiding the development of this country. The Prime Minister said the government will continue its determination to turn Malaysia into a progressive and developed nation, earning high income by the year 2020. He said the government would also learn from the spirit of sacrifice in the past to be made part of the struggles to prosper the nation based on justice and harmony. Datuk Seri Najib said as he had pledged in his public debate at the 69th United Nations General Assembly in New York recently, Malaysia would continue to hold tightly to the moderation approach as outlined by the Islamic religion. He said the government was determined to continue with the National Transformation Agenda, which would certainly require the commitment and willingness to carry out major sacrifices by everyone. The late Tun Suhaila Mohamad Noah, the widow of Malaysia's third Prime Minister Tun Hussein Onn, has contributed a great deal for the well-being of the people, especially women, in her lifetime. The Prime Minister's wife, Datin Sri Rosmah Mansor, said Tun Suhaila's passing certainly left its mark not only on the family but on the nation as a whole. The late Tun Suhaila, 82, mother of Defence Minister Datuk Sri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein, died about 12:30 a.m. today and was laid to rest at about 2:25 p.m. at the Heroes Mausoleum at the National Mosque. Meanwhile, former International Trade and Industry Minister Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz said she was very close to the deceased and that they worked hand in hand to establish the Welfare Association of Wives of Ministers and Deputy Ministers when she was the Deputy Minister of Finance in 1977. She said the deceased's goal to set up Bhakti had a noble objective, that is to do something beneficial for the community and this country. Bhakti was registered on May 16, 1977, and it aimed to synergize efforts of the wives of the country's leaders to help all those in need. Tun Sohaila was president of Bhakti for 5 years, contributing in various charitable activities with other Bhakti members to help the less fortunate. The KL Car Free Morning monthly campaign to promote carbon emission reduction would hopefully attract city dwellers to use the bicycle as a mode of transport for simple trips. Mayor Datuk Sri Ahmad Faisal Talib said riding the bicycle had become a regular practice in many cities. He said that in Australia, for instance, such mode of transport has become the preference even to the workplace. Kuala Lumpur City Hall has set the first Sunday of every month as KL Car Free Morning. Datuk Sri Ahmad Faisal said the campaign was also meant to be a recreational program for city families where for 2 hours at least they could ride their bicycles or go on foot without being overwhelmed by noise and carbon monoxide pollution. He said city dwellers' response to the program since January had been very encouraging. And now on the global front. Fresh scuffles erupted between pro-democracy activists occupying central parts of Hong Kong and riot police as the protests entered their second week. Thousands of people held a rally overnight defying the Beijing-backed authorities, although by Sunday morning many of the protesters had gone home. On Saturday, Hong Kong's leader warned that police would ensure government offices and schools reopened on Monday. Activists opposed China's plans to vet candidates in 2017 elections. During the overnight rally, thousands chanted, "Democracy now, democracy in Hong Kong," as speakers from the pro-democracy movement urged them to persist in their campaign, AP News Agency reported. The scuffles occurred in the early hours of Sunday in the Mong Kok district, with police using pepper spray against some of the protesters. CEO of Hong Kong, Mr. Leung, said he strongly condemned the violence but warned that it was likely to continue unless social order resumed. He added that the most urgent thing was for protesters to allow government staff to return to work and to clear main roads so schools can reopen on Monday. The huge cyber attack on JP Morgan Chase that touched more than 83 million households and businesses was one of the most serious computer intrusions into an American corporation, but it could have been worse. Questions over who the hackers are and the approach of their attack concern government and industry officials. Also troubling is that about 9 other financial institutions, a number that has not been previously reported, were also infiltrated by the same group of overseas hackers, according to people briefed on the matter. The hackers are thought to be operating from Russia and appear to have at least loose connections with officials of the Russian government, the people briefed on the matter said. The breadth of the attacks and the lack of clarity about whether it was an effort to steal from accounts or to demonstrate that the hackers could penetrate even the best protected American financial institutions has left Washington intelligence officials and policymakers far more concerned than they have let on publicly. Some American officials speculate that the breach was intended to send a message to Wall Street and the United States about the vulnerability of the digital network of one of the world's most important banking institutions. The JP Morgan hackers burrowed into the digital network of the bank and went down a path that gave them access to information about the names, addresses, phone numbers and email addresses of account holders. They never made it into where the more critical financial information and personal information are stored. The bank's security team, which first discovered the attack in late July, managed to block the hackers before they could compromise the most sensitive information about tens of millions of JP Morgan customers, said several security experts and others briefed on the matter. The attack was not completely halted until the middle of August, and it was only in recent days that the bank began to tally its full extent. Meanwhile, on the eve of Brazil's presidential election, the Superior Electoral Court has dismissed reports that the country's electronic voting system is vulnerable to hacking. The court's president, Jose Dias Toffoli, has acknowledged that hackers make frequent attempts to break into the electronic ballots. The Pakistani Taliban have expressed their support for Islamic State militants in Syria and Iraq. In a statement marking the Muslim festival of Eid, the group appealed to Islamists there to unite against the enemy, the US-led alliance. IS has taken over large parts of Syria and Iraq, but has also been battling Al-Qaeda-linked rival militant groups. The Pakistani Taliban has been waging its own insurgency against the Islamabad government since 1997. Saturday's statement was issued by the leader of Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pakistan, Maulana Fazlullah, sent by his spokesman. And this is an update of Ebola in the US. The first Ebola patient diagnosed in the United States took a turn for the worse on Saturday, slipping from serious to critical condition, as health officials reported fielding scores of possible cases around the country that proved to be false alarms. Dr. Thomas Frieden, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, said news of the Ebola patient in Dallas had alerted hospitals nationwide to check incoming patients for potential risks, particularly those who had recently traveled from the center of the outbreak in West Africa. The CDC has identified 9 people who had contact with the Dallas patient from Liberia, Thomas Eric Duncan, and therefore may have been exposed to the virus, and an additional 40 are being monitored as potential contacts. None have shown symptoms, Frieden said. That's all for now on tvsarawak.com. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend ahead.